All right, David. Well, it's time to dive into our trade watch list here on the fourth period, presented by Upper Deck. And it's actually quite funny now because teams are now holding out players for trade-related reasons. So we are in trade-related reason season, David, and let's start in Columbus.
Yeah, that's right. The latest guy to go on there today as a healthy scratch, Vladislav Gavrikov of those Blue Jackets. Now, speaking to sources with the team, a trade is not close yet, but they are speaking with multiple teams about getting Gavrikov resituated to a playoff contender. Now, the thing here with him is he's a pending unrestricted free agent, but his agent, Dan Milstein, has permission to speak with teams about an extension, and that could come along with whatever trade ends up happening here between Columbus and, I mean, you name it, LA, Boston, Edmonton, Calgary. There are a lot of teams, Minnesota, Winnipeg, like the list goes on with respect to teams that have interest in this player. Left shot defenseman, rugged, not afraid to get into the corners, sound defensive type of player, and comes with a big body. So there's a lot of interest in Gavrikov. It's not there yet at the time we're recording this, and it looks like it will gain traction over the course of the next few weeks, maybe, or next few days rather, maybe related to what happens with our buddy Jakob Chychrun.
You said it. I'll elaborate. What's the latest with Jakob Chychrun in Arizona?
Yeah, he's number 3 on our trade watch list, and this is a player that, I mean, this has been going on for a while. We actually first reported last offseason, right before the season, that the Coyotes were just now starting to listen to offers or to calls with respect to Jakob Chychrun. It's taken almost 2 seasons now to get to this point, but he's also out of the lineup. They're not putting him in until a trade is ultimately facilitated. LA has been in the heart of this thing, but as we reported, Boston has also been creeping into the mix. And this could be a scenario where we see a domino effect of defensemen get dealt here as a result of Chychrun ending up somewhere. Now, LA, we know Brandt Clarke, as we first reported, is not part of the mix. Rob Blake had to call Brandt Clarke after speculation on Sunday ran wild that he could be part of this deal. He called him to let him know, no, calm down. You're not going anywhere. You can relax. He actually had a game that afternoon, got off the ice and freaked out. So this is the other side of things when it comes to reporting this type of information. I know everybody wants it, but it does take a personal toll on a lot of people. But right now, the Coyotes are trying to push to get the best return they can. And as much as people believe there's something right there with LA, they're trying to see if they can get a little bit more somewhere else.
What do you think happens with Patrick Kane and the Blackhawks? Are the Blackhawks really are just waiting for him, aren't they?
More or less. And I think, Irf, now that the Rangers are effectively out of the mix, there are some scenarios, and you want to put the hat on, you can kind of see a situation where maybe it works out, the tinfoil hat. It doesn't seem like it's realistic at this stage. You now shift gears. Dallas has been in this since the summer. They've acknowledged their interest. I believe Patrick Kane has some level of interest in exploring that possibility with Dallas, but there are other teams in this mix as well. You look at Carolina, you look at Vegas, 2 teams that have a ton of cap space now because of LTIR. They're kind of lurking around and seeing what could potentially happen here. We know Toronto, to a certain extent, has had interest, Edmonton too, but I suspect he's going to narrow down that list. And if the Islanders can get their acts together in the next week or so, that might be an option that they re-explore and re-examine because they did have interest in him in the past.
Final 2 for us, David. 2 defensemen, one here in Vancouver, Luke Schenn, and the big one is Erik Karlsson, just because of the season that guy's having.
Yeah, I'll start with Luke in Vancouver. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody's waiting for this next domino. Is it him? Is it Tyler Myers? Is it Brock Besser? Is it Connor Garland, Thatcher Demko, Jim Rutherford? There's so much going on there. There has been traction on Luke Schenn front so far this week. Boston's in on everybody, just so you know. And so is Calgary. They want to make sure they've got all of their butts covered so they have an understanding of what the prices are, who's in the mix, and if they need to step up. But Calgary and Boston are 2 teams very much in the fold with respect to Luke Schenn. I was told Tampa was in it too, but they seem to be out of it right now. They could certainly circle back in, but it seems like they're not at the forefront of this. They're focused on getting a forward up front for the time being. Toronto lurking around, Edmonton. There are other teams that are looking at this. But with respect to Calgary, some news that came out earlier this morning was that there is a discussion again involving Brock Besser. This was discussed at the start of the season. It looks like that's been reestablished in some form with respect to Schenn and Besser. So something, to keep tabs on there.
All right, David, and really the final one is the guy that's having one of the best seasons almost ever by a defenseman, and that's Erik Karlsson.
Yeah. I mean, we know the reports with respect to Edmonton. They're right there trying to see how they can make something work. It's going to come with a big price. There's no question about it. You're looking at the top prospect, the first round pick, plus you got to make the money work. There are a few other elements associated with this, but they're not the only team. I'm told that the San Jose Sharks do have some options with respect to Erik Karlsson. It's not just the Oilers. So again, this is going to be something that we take a look at over these next 2 weeks here to see if and when Carlson does end up getting dealt. But my understanding, speaking to somebody close to San Jose, is that they believe that they've got options that can make this happen in season, not just the summer. So we'll see how this picks up over the next couple of weeks.
Absolutely, and it should be a very interesting next couple of weeks, David, as we approach the NHL trade deadline, which is on March 3rd.